sikhulaba isikhona impilo zoba ngcono ngoba sithemba umdala ukhona started from the bottom manje sikhulaba isikhona impilo zoba ngcono ngoba sithemba umdala ukhona umdala ukhona siphela umoya asiphela umoya siphela umoya umdala ukhona siphela umoya umoya siphela umoya
Greetings, sanibonani, dumelanye, absheni. Hello out there once again. It's your boy AKAY back again with another episode of Real Talk with AKAY, proudly brought to you by the People's Podcast Network, a platform for seeking practical solutions for practical societal issues. We are still on that path, even if though we haven't been on your screens that much over the last few months, but we're just facing a few technicalities. But now we are back. We are officially back. This is us coming back. And as you can see that I'm not alone. I have someone in studio with me, but we'll actually get to him, whereby we'll give him the opportunity to introduce himself, let us know who he is, what he's currently doing, After all, this is the People's Podcast,
Yeah.
So without wasting any further time, just a quick reminder to just click on that subscribe button down there, and don't also forget to follow us across all our podcasting streaming platforms. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, just to name a few. And then apart from that, you can also go check out our Practical Problem Solvers community, a community of practical problem solvers whereby different people from different paths come together to connect and try to find practical solutions to some of the issues that we talk about on the show. So after all, let me just welcome our studio. Our guest, I meant to say, who's with us in studio.
Yeah.
Mr. Molefe, sir.
Yes, sir.
The platform is yours.
Thank you, my brother, for inviting me over. I mean, it's such a privilege for me to be, and I'm really, I call this podcast the OG podcast. Very inspirational, so I'm very excited for today, and I believe that the viewers are going to have an amazing time as well, as we're going to divulge in this very wonderful topic. But for you to let's do the most, as he said. Let's support the movement. Let's keep going with it. My name and who I am and what I do is Thulaganyo B. Tukisi Molefe. So I have two surnames, Tukisi Molefe, and I'm commercially and professionally known as Tuli the King, because I've been doing a couple of things, mostly entertainment, ups and downs, experiment with different types of music, and entertainment streams, including music, including writing, poetry, and the like. But right now, currently, I'm focusing more on podcasting. I also have a podcast of my own, as I regard his podcast as a daily podcast of sorts. And my podcast name is Tuli the King Connection. And the channel is on YouTube predominantly. We are also aiming to go on streaming platforms, audio streaming platforms. It deals more about personal development and personal improvement in different areas such as spirituality, business, commerce, entrepreneurship, mental health and physical health and the like. So we just bring in people, and myself as well. We talk about how can we grow as individuals, especially. So I would say maybe yours is more dealing with the collective, the communal, aspects. Ours is dealing more with the individual. We want you to grow. And then I would say maybe by profession, because I recently graduated. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was tough, Those couple of years were tough, especially during COVID. So I did my business innovation and entrepreneurship in technology at AFDA. I acquired that, and I also got an award for best discipline, if you can say best major in business leadership. So what I do right now, I consult businesses and brands on how they can improve, how they can innovate, innovate on their business models. So practically that's what I do, but I also am a DJ, a music producer, an artist, a songwriter, and a poet, a writer as well in terms of being an author. And I'm a public speaker. Actually, I'm also an award-winning public speaker as well. Yeah, man, I guess we are on a journey of finding our identities, and I have a bit of a passion of helping people grow and to develop. And I guess that's why we are here, that's why we're connecting. And I'm very happy for this,
It's long
adventure we're going in, you know?
It's long overdue.
Yes, long overdue, I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, thank you.
So, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, sir.
Hoping to have a great conversation, you know, and I also hope that our viewers and new viewers are also gonna enjoy our conversation.
Definitely.
So it is organic, you know.
It's gonna be organic. Definitely.
So, on today's episode, we are talking about the importance of media representation and its impact, you know, on like black communities. Its impact in terms of shaping like the perceptions in black communities, you know.
Yes.
So without wasting any further time, McCain,
Yes, sir.
let me just shoot with the first question, you know,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
so that we know that I will push you. So like, can you like, and like its impact on shaping like the perceptions in black communities, you know?
Yes.
Or how has it like played a role in influencing our daily lives? Especially like the lifestyles that we currently live, you know.
I think it's an important question, and it's a bit of a long question. It's deep,
Yeah.
but the good thing is that we're gonna have fun with it, and we're going to understand different aspects and areas of interest for this thing. But not going too deep into it. I think firstly we need to define what media is. Media is just information distributed to the masses. That's what we are doing. We are on YouTube, a platform that's accessed by over maybe 3 billion of the entire world, the entire population. That's almost half and more. I wanna say more than 5 billion, but on an average count, you might say 3 billion. We have access to all of that market. Now that's media. That's what we're doing. Now, when you talk about representation, and you also talk about perception and creating perceptions, it's two different things. But I think we talk about how has media representation affected the perceptions that we have as black communities. So firstly, with media, what happens is that we learn cultures and lifestyles. In fact, there's a study that says that the best mode of learning is by video. Generally focused. It's not just reading, it's not just listening, but audio or videos are very interesting because you are reading or listening to someone and seeing them. So you're using two of your senses, and maybe even three. You are seeing what the person is saying, and you are hearing what the person is saying, and then you can have an emotive connection. Now, how you see, when you talk about media, information being distributed, being distributed either via, word of mouth or digital means, such as digital and electronic means, such as television and radio, or you talk about platform-based means, such as our phones, our laptops, and the internet. Then we also talk about written communication. You read newspapers, blogs, books. Now, from all of these things, we talk about how have these things represented us as black people, so that we may have a certain perception of it and go into it. We become what we, there's a saying that says you become what you eat. So I'll bring it down further and say we are what we consume. So if you consume hip hop culture, and you consume what I would call American culture, American pop culture, you will hear by the accent, yo man, how you doing, man? Man, that's crazy, man. We got gang chicks in here. You know what I mean? Papa Luwa display capital say they say give pens. That's the representation when we see in movies, when we see on social media that the coolness or the success is represented a certain way, we want to imitate it. It's a subconscious thing that happens to the mind. So how has it happened? So, going back to how has it impacted us as black people? As black people, media has been very important to us. People will go into how has media really been used. But it has shaped us into how we dress, the accent we use, how we speak, we've made English our main mode of communication, you understand? And the culture, what do we eat? So that's how it has impacted us as black people. See, right now I would argue and say we dress in a Western way. We left out that is part of our so-called organic culture, and we are an identity as well, and we are transpiring to a more Western culture, or as they call it, a modern civilization culture. Let's not call it Western, as if we are being not racist but classist or something like that, whatever we can call it. But that's how I think it has impacted us. It has impacted how we speak, how we think. We see different parenting styles. We see back, if you go back 100 years, we see our grandparents having 10 children, 15 children. Right now we don't have more than 3, 4, 5 per household.
So do you think that is that something positive or negative?
Okay. It depends where exactly and in what sense. I think it's both positive and negative. I think it depends who and what are your beliefs. Some people might think our organic culture, our traditional cultures are outdated. Do we really need polygamy? Do we really need to be just wearing skins on our bodies and not just clothes and stuff like that? Do we really need to eat strictly plant-based diets or earth-based diets? Let's call it earth-based diets. Or can we start eating cereal, Kellogg's for breakfast? Do we only have to eat once a day? Do we really have to only what about, when you talk about traditional culture, a 35-year-old man marries a 15-year-old girl. Today, that's taboo. So, it depends on the perception. Like, is it a good thing for a 35-year-old man to marry a 15-year-old lady or girl? Let's call it a girl. Because when that happens in regards to tradition, you are getting someone who helps you, you are grooming them, you are growing with them, you are a leader to them, and then you potentially have more children with them to grow your territory or your empire. So in that regard, it's good. But in today's age, it's taboo. You can even get arrested for it, statutory rape. So, but to answer your question straight, is it good or bad? I think it depends what you do with it. Are you going to use it for positive, or are you going to use it for negative? And I don't know if you want examples, but it's not a yes or no answer. It's not a straightforward answer.
That's what I was about to ask.
Okay.
Like, how can we say, like, how has the media played a role in influencing today's generation in society?
Okay.
In terms of lifestyle, culture, and culture. Because right now, with all of these trends that are currently there in the scene, they eat things, the vibes, the clothes, everything. And somewhere, some of these things arose from somewhere.
Of course. So just rephrase your question, just so I can be sure I'm answering.
I just want to know in terms of, like, so how has media influenced or has played a role in influencing today's generation, especially in like townships and black communities in most cases?
I think there are maybe three main forms of media affecting black communities. The first is word of mouth, the second is television, and the third is social media. Maybe with television you can say radio, but I'm arguing with radio a little bit. But in terms of making proper examples, I'll just leave to those three. So you're asking how has media affected the communities, black communities. So, sorry brother, sorry Mr. Producer. Hey, there's a lot going on here. Anyway, it's alright. So with oral or with word of mouth, how is that? That's media, by the way. Someone said something, we're spreading it. But I'm gonna park the bus on that one. I want the most but that one is very deep as well, because what happens is if people say, hey, white people are you mustn't mess with that guy. Hey, what bit? Your mind has already put a limit to how you're going to engage with that person. Yeah. So when you speak to someone and you have a perception of it, and you also receive that perception, it changes your limitations. It changes your boundaries. So if I say to you, yo man, you can't do business with white people. You are too intelligent. You are gonna be afraid to engage with white people. So that's word of mouth. Then that's just an example. So as black communities, that's why you can see black communities, how are they affected? You see that when you tell them that you're telling your parents, I don't just want to study being a teacher, then I just want to study being an engineer, I want to study being a fashion designer. And like, what are you talking about? We have never heard of this thing called fashion design. Or let's go deeper, maybe something like what's something that's a bit taboo but it's making money. I'm gonna study, maybe let's say 10 years ago, I'm going to study IT, computer. I had computer we are going to the cafe, if at all. Computers are for rich people. So already it has placed a limit on the black psyche, right? Then when we move on television is, when you look at soapies men are very influential. Soapies, telenovelas, those things are very influential, because what happens is we learn different ways of how we engage with people. I think, for example, black people would have not been more. I think that was the catalyst, in my view, when in generations early on, I think it was maybe late 2000 noughties, at the end of the noughties, or maybe the early 10s. We got introduced to homosexual culture. Jason, Senzu, and that brought a shift, that actually there is such a space in our communities, so-called underrepresented space. But right now what happened, that 10 years, 15 years later, it has become acceptable homosexuality.
And we are back again, guys, from our short break. That was a quick one, and we are still continuing with our conversation as we talk about like the role or importance of media in terms of shaping the perceptions of, let me not say blacks, let me just say the entire population or people within our respective communities.
Yes.
So without wasting any further time, but just before we get back to the show, just a quick reminder to click that subscribe button and also go check out our Patreon website. That's the website where you can get the podcast merchandise, you can get yourself discounts. It's basically a community of practical problem solvers. So you just go there, there are benefits that you get when you sign up. It's cheap, easily accessible, user friendly. So it's at patreon.com/Real Talk with AKAY, the People's Podcast. That's the website that you need to visit, and then you can also go sign up for our weekly newsletter or blog on WordPress. It's the peoplespodcast.wordpress.com. That's where you can stay updated in terms of like the artist management agency, our upcoming events, and so forth. So we are basically involved in a lot of things. We are basically involved in a lot of things.
We don't have an excuse.
We can spend the entire day talking about these projects.
Yeah, that's good.
So, my brother,
Yes, sir.
we're still on it, So
Yeah.
let me know.
Yes, I was saying that there are three main forms of media that we are accustomed to. As I said, oral, which is word of mouth. Then we have television, as I spoke about an example, which has shaped the acceptance of homosexual culture, which was shunned, banned. We see more people coming out. In fact, it's been said around, which is, for me, I think it's a scary stat for me, that around 53% of the young generation is somehow affiliating with alternative sexuality. Anyway, from that onwards, it has shaped South African culture of homosexuality to be more acceptable, and that's only an example. When you talk about, this is a big one, perceptions of how rich people are and look. When you look at, I think Generations is one of the, if you look at Scandal, Generations, you look at Skim Sam, who are the most powerful businessmen or business people? Number one, most of the powerful people with the perception is they are men. And they are corrupt, and they are, the word is corrupt, that's the right word.
And it makes it a norm in society that corruption is the way to go.
You understand?
That's why we have what? These leaders today.
So now it shapes the perception. That's why it's like normal. You can't, in this country, you want the license. The process you go through, you can't.
Yeah, so it's a norm in a way. So like, okay, let's now shift.
Let me just finish the third one, which is social media.
Yeah.
Social media is more for the young generation. Yeah, I don't know what you call people born after 2010, but they are also part of it. Because TikTok, I think the minimum age is 13. And I would assume a person who was born in 2010 is today 2023. So they are part of us now, and they're being warped and shaped by that culture. You can see how kids are speaking. Even when I go back to television quickly, we show our kids cartoons and animations, and they start to become more. I remember a joke somebody said, the first word that their child said was not mama, but it was something like Mickey or Mickey Mouse. So I'm like,
just imagine.
That's impact right there.
Yeah.
That's power right there. So there's a lot of power with this thing, and it influences us, as I say, by the way they dress, the way we speak, and the like. The last is I'm saying social media. Social media, we see a lot of influencers there. We see one big influencer is Forex through social media.
People are getting scammed left and right.
Yeah, because when you look at Forex traders who are selling courses or whatever they do, they are flaunting to us success metrics that we've measured for ourselves, which are cars, money, for guys it's girls, access to these things, access to clothes, nice clothes, whatever it may be. And that thing shapes, now it has shaped the Forex culture, which has shaped the culture of no hard work. I don't know what to call it, easy money. There are people are like, it's easy to make money. I would argue and say, not easy, but it's accessible to make money, but it's not easy to make money. So social media is also playing a big role, because right now, I think people don't believe social media has also made this thing that people's lives are perfect. So people don't believe, when they are going through a lot, people are overly depressed. And I'm not saying, don't warrant your feelings. I'm not saying discount your feelings. I'm not saying discount how you feel, your mental state. But I'm saying sometimes your mental state is really what? You are want to kill yourself because you are the only one And this goes for older people who doesn't have a pair of Nikes in your circle because your friends are they're not accepting you. You are swearing at your parents, you are saying you can't buy me this thing, you know, you're asking for more money from your parents. You can see that they are you know, you're even unemployed. I mean, you know, it's and now you are forcing Walona by feeling the brunt of what social media has impacted to you, and now you're depressing your whole family. You are putting your family in debt. So the impact, the you know, the effects on our society is real and is in real time. When you talk about oral, television, or podcasting, and social media, podcasts as well.
And that's true in terms of social media, because it influences a lot of things. One of the reasons right now we actually have a generation that's not afraid to commit suicide. You know, all this weird stuff, you know, all this kind of stuff things, you know. So, like, without wasting any further time, you know, let me just ask this question, because, you know, our second guest is here, by the way. So, like, without wasting any further time, let me just shift the focus now.
Yes, sir.
About how, like, the media has influenced black people. You know? So, now the question is, how do you think like the media, or like what are the common misconceptions that are being portrayed by these media platforms when it comes to black communities? Because that's one of the reasons I feel like when you go to America, people in America still think Africa is a jungle, you know.
True. Okay. So I think. So I'm gonna answer it in two ways. Then I'm gonna start with the evolution of black, and I can say current African media representation. Then I can maybe mention, as you are talking about, how has it influenced or the misconceptions. But it's gonna be part of the evolution. So I'll say this for free. You know, Africans are very interesting people. When you look at our culture, our history, where we are today. So firstly, you know, Africans, you know, when you look back, Africans were pillars of civilization. They were pillars of mining, of trade, intercontinental trade, education. The first university was in Timbuktu, if I'm not mistaken. When, let's call them international traders, when they arrived in Africa, they already found us trading with gold and other minerals and commodities. They found trade here, rocks. Look at the rocks that we have. So eventually, I mean, initially, the evolution, we started off, Africans were seen as innovators, civilization makers, and there was that thing that people came to us, to Africa, to trade with us. But then secondly, other people, they started feeling inferior because we had this might as African people, and said we want to make these people feel inferior, and we want to deceive them to feel superior. And so, you know, not being racist or anything, but it's the West. You know, they came here. I'm talking about maybe the British and the Spanish.
Our colonizers, the French, and all of these guys. I mean, you know, predominantly they were white in terms of skin tone, and color and the like. Maybe not be too funny. I want it to be a bit funny. A white, and let me just throw it in. You know, white and maybe a shade of pink. You know, paleness, but. Then they formulated ways to devalue us, make us devalue each other, and then they influence other people to believe that we are not civilized. We live in mud huts. We are not civilized. We eat organic. We are poor. You know.